Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. What's going on, guys? Candace is not doing her show for the week. So, I'm thinking maybe I should go live. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I should try going live on YouTube again. Maybe. I don't know. Let me know what you think of that in the comments section. But let's get into this information that just dropped. Now, I've seen some people covering this, and they're covering it as though it is 100% real. And I'm going to give you both sides of what this could be, okay? I just want to make sure that you have all the information when you do read these messages, these text messages that have been released. I'm going to give you some of my own personal bias. I'm going to give you some research that I've done, some digging into this whole thing, just so you understand fully what you're seeing, because that's so important when you're looking at information. It's so important to understand what you're seeing, and it's important to see who is presenting it to you and why they could be presenting it to you. So I figured I'd just go through that. I was going to just put out an episode about this whole thing, but then when I started looking at it and understanding it, I was like, maybe we should do a little deeper of a dig. But I say all that to say, with everything we've found out about Candace, about what she's alleging, the connections that all make sense, and Charlie, everything, and the fact that she keeps on bringing receipts, that she keeps on pissing people off, this does make sense that this would happen. But let's dig in. Now, Project Veritas released this information. It says Candace Owens has been a target of the government for years. And then the quotes, one of the quotes that you'll be reading in these text messages is, "We need to blackmail her faster," talking about Candace. This is from Mary Barr Daly, former senior DOJ official, daughter of former AG Bill Barr. Now, I figured, just so you understand that name, that's who that is. Now let's read these text messages. Can I go close? Or should I just keep it here? I know some of you guys. Some of you guys are in your 40s. I'll make it so close for you. And I'm kidding. I need it close too. So this is actually September 14th, 9:11 a.m. That's weird. Didn't really realize that. So I need you to start working on the blank, a big old blank here. We don't know what that is. And Candace Owens case. The person says question mark. Then they say Armstrong will give you commands, but we need to focus on black and blank. Again, don't know who that could be. It's even shorter. Work with Armstrong on this. Send some girls to secure him. He's an easy target. The harder one is Candace, right? She's very resistant. Gather the group to come up with a good strategy, but don't waste time. For blank, it would be good to have something we could use to put him in jail. Oh, I think just because of how short it is, you notice the shortness of it? I wonder who else was ticking them off at that time. September 14th, 2021. I wonder who else was ticking them off. Because when I see how close how short it is, well, the first thing I think of is the Prez, the big Prez, right? That's what I think of. You know which Prez I'm talking about, right? You know who I'm talking about, right? Right? That's who I think that is, because it's just so small. Like, what name could fit that small? You could go Kirk, but what was Kirk really doing at that time that was ticking them off? Let me know in the comments if you can think of that. My thought is the Prez, 100%. Now it says blank, black and blank. I don't know who black is. If you could figure out who black is, please let me know. You can email, everything like that. And then the person says at the end, I don't want to be on that. So they're just like straight up, no, not me, please. Then another text message on the 15th. 10:23 a.m. Have you been working on the issue with Candace Owens? We need to blackmail her faster. Now, that, I don't even know how to say it. Kalkik has been very affected. Tell Armstrong to send the photographer to follow her and also follow her husband. Now, who they're talking about is Candace there. Follow Candace, follow her husband. AW want to know if they need to focus on Candace or blank. They said Candace first. Again, I'm so angry at her. Let me just move this over so you can see it completely. I'm so angry at her that I can't stop thinking. If the things she says about Kalkik are taken seriously, they will investigate the use of the money in the election campaign. We have to bring out material to destroy her reputation before she gets us. Now, this is wild stuff, right? I mean, just the fact that, we're reading blackmail her faster is just crazy, absolutely crazy. Now, that makes sense. Candace ticks a lot of people off. And in fact, as much as there's a certain side of people who say Candace and Charlie had no connection, they had a connection of when you really, and I always thought this about listening to interviews with Charlie, because I would always watch him on other people's interviews because they would dig deeper into his faith and what he believed. And I was like, this guy, he might not put on a tinfoil Speedo, but this guy has an arrayment of tinfoil hats in his closet that he doesn't tell anybody about. Because he would just know about certain things that you don't know about unless you're part of the tinfoil community. You just don't know about these things. And he would talk, there's certain things he would touch on, but then also on his show, he would talk about certain things, whether it was Jeff, whether like everything that Jeff and Jeff's connection to, Philadelphia, he was touching on some real, France and everything there. He was touching on some really serious things in a really Candace type of way when you would watch his show at times. He would go off. So I just wonder who Candace was ticking off here. But I actually found out, right? I did a little digging into who this lady was. Maybe you knew who Kalkik was, but I didn't know. So this is Kalkik, Kimberly Klacik, live, weekdays, 9 to noon. So this is her. Former GOP congressional nominee, endorsed by Perez, radio talk show host at whatever that is, WCBM 680, podcast on Watch We the Free. Never heard of any of these things, but this is her. And I was looking into it. I'm like, who is this lady? And then I started seeing this lady's replies, because that's what I had to dig into to really understand who she was. And, it's just part of the process. So I started seeing some of her replies, reposts. Absolutely. She said the same thing about the prime minister, how the prime minister misrepresented the letter Charlie wrote him. The PM then went on Fox and read the letter. Candace Owens lied. The prime minister told the truth. That's one example of many. And this was in a response to someone saying, can you point out specific examples where she cried wolf? Are you saying she's lying? If so, et cetera, et cetera. So they were asking for proof. She produced this as proof that Candace lied. If you read that letter from front to back, it's not exactly a love letter to the Philadelphia PM there. It's not exactly a love letter to that guy. It's more of a plea to do things better, and, you need help with your PR. And honestly, he did the same thing with Gavin Newsom. Honestly, he actually, Charlie, I'm talking about, he told Gavin Newsom the same type of stuff. He's like, your methods are terrible. You guys don't know what you're doing. And actually, and I was really upset with Charlie for this, because after he met with Gavin Newsom, sat down with him, was the first guest on his podcast, Gavin Newsom started tweeting good. Like, Gavin tweets pretty solid stuff. He's going at Rogan. He's going at the Prez. Like he's good at the social game now, because Charlie taught him that he needs to have people in place who are younger, and they need to actually make movement where it matters. So Charlie taught him that. And I never liked that. I never liked that. I've made many posts about Charlie being like, you should never be forgiven for this. This is terrible what you've done. Because it's, what if 2028 Gavin? Oh my, it would be the worst, right? So, and that was in response. This whole thing was in response to her saying this. As we move on here, she said Candace could very well be under threat. Problem is, she cried wolf and exaggerated so many times. 60% of ex-users don't believe her. It's an unfortunate reality she brought on herself. Now, just a side note, that's going to become the narrative very slowly. The narrative is going to be, she did this. This is her fault. The same thing that happened to the Prez. The same exact thing. Oh, well, he said all these things, and that's why that happened to him at Butler. No, it's really his fault. That same thing is happening with Candace. And that same thing happened with Charlie. People were producing all sorts of tweets and examples of why this happened to Charlie, when it was actually Charlie's fault that this whole thing happened. Absolutely ridiculous. But going on, I was like, why does this Kim lady have it out for Candace so much? Candace spent 2 months telling her followers about the administration, especially FBI, can't be trusted. Now she's running to them for help. I've noticed no one from the administration has publicly acknowledged any of her claims. And she doesn't realize, this lady, this Klacik, she doesn't realize that that's more telling than she realizes. They haven't. I said it. Yeah, I said it on yesterday's episode. They did that for Benny Johnson. For Benny Johnson, they had no problem. They had a press conference. He had somebody actually came for him. They were planning to do something to him. They got him, his 4 kids, maybe 5 now, his wife, everything. They took it very serious. Pam Bondi flew to Florida to make sure that everybody knew this would not stand. And they haven't done that for Candace. I don't think that means Candace lied. I think that means that there's something up with those people. The it's on my desk lady and the guy who's bug-eyed, who's like, everybody acted alone and my girlfriend makes great country music. Maybe those guys can't, maybe allegedly, perhaps those people who have disappointed us and not done the things that we have asked of them, expected of them, are a little untrustworthy. Maybe. I could be wrong about that. So I go on. Candace Owens, very well. Okay, we already saw that one. Then I see this. Somebody reposts this, right? And this is under the Project Veritas post. They say, it's Candace in 2021, August 25th, 2 weeks before those text messages were sent. Candace says, LOL. Kimberly is a former stripper fraud who has blocked me on every social media account since I exposed her shady FEC filings. She launched an obvious, frivolous lawsuit, read it, about me calling her a madam to distract/avoid questions about her FEC filings. So that, what she's saying right there, really lines up with what we have here. It really, really lines up. Now, I'm going to show you parts of it that make me kind of question it as well, just because I want to give you the full spectrum of what I'm thinking here. But yeah, when Candace said this, and this is crazy. Candace says crazy. I mean, listen, I'm not saying she's a liar, but the things she's willing to say, I love it too, man. When you have a huge following, you should just be willing to say some stuff, you know? I love it when people have this huge following and people think like, oh, if you have that many followers, you should be buttoned up and you should conduct yourself. You should be statesman-like. You should be like a statesman. Get out of here. Still normal people. Be normal. Yeah, it's the worst when you see someone who's like, well, I mean, the platform is now bigger, so we should operate a little differently. No, don't start doing that. You know what I mean? Anyway, so she says that. I'm noticing she said more. Should I read this? Whatever. Candace doesn't swear. It's fine. Every person who gave to her campaign should demand answers about where the money went, particularly Fox and Lion LLC, as well as the Pearl events. Any journalist who wants to be taken seriously should look at her FEC filings. It's the GOP story of the year. Whoa, okay. And then she went on to say more. In case you are missing the guts of this story, you can start here. She is also frivolously suing journalists who investigate this video, and I determined I was telling the truth. TikTok, Kimberly. So there is something to these text messages. They say that Klacik is so affected by this, and this is why, because Candace is going hard. Let's see what this is. I might have to blur something given the subject matter she's talking about. Let's see. Let's. What is this? Oh, it's not there anymore. I wish it was still there. Okay, it's not there anymore. But we press on. So, this is why Kimberly, not just what Candace was saying, but this is also why Kimberly doesn't like Candace anymore. Or like at all, remotely. Candace Owens wins $150,000 against Black conservative Kimberly Klacik, who sued her for defamation. So that ended up happening. This is just a one-pager here, but it basically just says Candace Owens emerged victorious in a lawsuit that was filed against her by Kimberly Klacik, who sued the controversial author for $20 million in the summer of 2021. Wow. According to Law and Crime, in addition, Owens winning the lawsuit, Klacik must pay a judgment of $115,000 to the Daily Wire host. She's a Daily Wire host at that time? Cool. The lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice in December. The judgment amount is inclusive of all claims for attorney fees. Wow. Very, very interesting. So there is a beef there. There is a beef there. So now this actually makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, this person, whoever this is, they're saying that it's Bill Barr's daughter. Klacik was very affected. They did have to move fast on this. It seems they didn't want to be investigated at all. Candace was the one that you have to focus on, because if we're at September 15th and Candace said all this at the end of August, you got to get moving. You got to get moving ASAP to make sure that Candace is silent, right? So now we get into the part where I start to question it. So this is the first part I questioned here. So I'm seeing this number, right? And I'm seeing that it's a 971 number. And I see that, and I know all about that. That's New York. That's Brooklyn. That's Bronx. That's Queens. That's a New York number, is what I'm saying. So I was like, is this person from New York? So I started doing some digging here. And I wanted to know, where is she from? So she's not from New York, right? Parents are Bill Barr, Christine, blah, blah, blah. She earned her bachelor's, blah, blah, blah. So she's not exactly from New York. At this point, it's telling me that she's American, and that's not what I'm asking. So I had to dig deeper. And I said, what state did she work in when she was DOJ? And they say she worked in Virginia and Washington, D.C. during her time with the Department of Justice. She served as a federal prosecutor in Virginia, handling cases, and later worked in Washington, D.C. as the DOJ's that coordinator. That sounds like a wild job. What a wild job description that is. Was she born in New York? No. I'm trying to figure out why this lady would have a New York number. That's what I'm trying to figure out. No, she was not born in New York. She's born in 1979, grew up in Maryland. Her parents are Christine Barr and William Barr. While she worked as an assistant U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of New York for over 4 years, her birthplace is not New York. So she did work in New York, right? Then I went, what years did she work in New York? Well, she worked in New York From 2003 to 2007, she was working that role. She married Michael Daly May 12th, 2007, as noted in her New York Times wedding announcement, which, now I'm thinking, hold on, Michael Daly. Can I just look this person up quickly? Let me look up Michael Daly really quick. Okay. Can I ask a question about Michael Daly? You're giving me a lot of information, and none of it is what I'm looking for. Can I ask a follow-up question? Is Michael, this might answer my question, Daly from New York? Let me see this. Just a quick impromptu. Yes. Oh, okay. Wait a second. What? Who is this? Wait a second. No, this is the wrong Michael Daly. This has to be the wrong Michael Daly, obviously, 1924. I'm asking about Michael Daly. Michael Daly. Is that the right? So no, I spelled F Daly. Michael Daly, who is married to, what was her name? Mary Daly Barr. Sorry, guys, a little impromptu research here. Let's see this. Yes, Michael Daly, man, is from Brooklyn, New York. Oh, okay. So that makes sense. So this was one of the reasons I was questioning it. Okay, so she did work in New York from 03 to 07. She marries Michael in 07. He's from New York. Now that answers my question, because the big question for me was, why would she, if this is her, why would she have a New York number? That makes perfect sense. Husband's from New York. They're going back and forth to New York. He might even have a house in New York, probably has family in New York. You keep the New York number. Maybe you got a phone plan, and maybe if you switch your number at all, it takes it away. It takes away the great plan you have. I don't know. Maybe you have 50 gigs of data or something crazy like that. I don't know. But that makes a lot of sense. So her husband's from New York. Okay. So for me, that gives me a layer of more authenticity when it comes to these messages here. Now, here's the other thing that I questioned. Okay. Where it came from. You always have to think about where things came from. Now, this is entirely my own bias. This is just my bias. It comes from Project Veritas. Now, I don't know if you know about the history of Project Veritas, but Charlie, Candace, they came out in support of the founder of Project Veritas. Now, what happened to the founder of Project Veritas is he did a big story on a company that rhymes with miser. There we go. Company that rhymes with miser, okay? And he did a huge, I don't know, hit job on them. He actually found one of their executives. They had a secret camera. The guy was on a secret date. He told very sensitive information. You know, founder of Project Veritas brought that to the masses. And then all of a sudden, a week or two later, he's being forced out of his company by the donors who were nameless, just like Turning Point. And before you know it, he is out of his company, done, facing a lawsuit from the company because they're suing him, saying that you can't do your news content the way you did it with Project Veritas, because Project Veritas has claim to hidden cameras and secret recordings and things of that nature. They were stating that they had claim over doing things like that. And it made no sense. So obviously the founder fought it. He erected another company. He started another company. And before you know it, the company blew up. He was done with donors because he knew that they were nameless and faceless and they could do things behind his back. So he went for profit. It's being funded by the people who support him, whether it's subscribing on X or actually going to his website and subscribing there. And he has a lot. He was actually one of the first people to find Pam Bondi talking about the footage that she was going through that was on her desk. And the only reason she brought that information to the public, thousands of hours to go through. The only reason she did that was because James actually recorded her secretly talking about it, released that, and then she had to come to the public with it. But aside from that, the thing about Project Veritas is hard to trust Project Veritas now, in my opinion. That's just me. Big supporter of James, love what James does. He actually follows me on X. He's like one of the first people to actually see what I was doing and be like, hey, I should follow this guy. So I like the guy quite a bit. First guy to repost my stuff, in fact, as well. He put it on his own YouTube channel. I was shocked. But yeah, little hard to trust them at times. Also, the thing about it is, and I could be mistaken about this, but I have to question, why do you bring this out now? Now, I'm not saying these are fake. I'm not saying they're fabricated, but I'm saying they're from 2021. Why are you bringing this out now? Or maybe, perhaps, they already brought this out, and now that they see what's going on with Candace, they're like, we have to have her back, and we have to show people this again in case they forgot, because we showed this to people about 4 years ago. So that's just, I came with a little bit of skepticism. Some of it was wiped away because her husband's from New York, so that makes perfect sense. She still has a deep, deep connection to New York, of course. So yeah, I mean, for me, seems legit. And it goes right along with what's going on today. That's the big thing, right? It goes right along with what's happening today. Undeniably. She's so angry at her. Candace first. They got to figure out a way. Makes perfect sense. And it didn't work. So yeah, she is married to this guy. Yeah, I can't believe I had to do that little bit of research there. I hope you guys don't mind. I mean, sometimes you gotta dig in a little bit and see what comes of it. So could have been nothing, and I just would have had you guys here for no reason. But yeah, that seems legit to me after doing that little bit of digging there. So yeah, they've been looking at Candace for a long time, a long time. They've been trying to figure out ways to silence her for quite some time. And I think we've learned that first, it is reputation. You're crazy. Then the law gets involved. Somebody very wise, they said you have 3 lives. They go for your reputation and everything like that. They try to cancel you. That's life number 1. If that doesn't work, they move on to law, which they've already moved on to for Candace. And they try to get you silenced that way, put you in jail, silence you, take all your money, bankrupt you, just squeeze you dry so you have no time to focus on the things that you were talking about. That's life number 2. And number 3 is they silence you for real. I think we've seen this play out many, many times. So I have to put this in here. I completely forgot to include this, again, in the spirit of bringing you guys all sides of what could be real and authentic and what could possibly not be. I have to show you this. Now, Project Veritas did say that the representation for Mary Barr stated that the text messages are fabricated. Meanwhile, neither she nor other subjects of our released text messages, such as her father, Bill Barr, Armstrong Williams, Jason Miller, nor Michael Ben Avery or Airy, have followed through with their legal threats. So they are threatening legal action, but they have not done anything yet. And Project Veritas is not backing down from the fact that these messages are real. Project Veritas is saying exactly what you hear Candace say all the time, which is fear of discovery, because then they actually have to produce actual proof of if the text messages are not real, well, then show us what is real. And then the question becomes, have you talked about Candace Owens at all in regards to this situation between Candace and Kim? Or even deeper, have you talked about Candace at all? Is there any talk of Charlie and Candace? They would have to now start producing a lot of text messages. I remember well, I won't say who it was in the lawsuit. We'll just say AJ. When AJ had a lawsuit, they wanted to pull up text messages from Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan said, well, which ones? Just in the frame of what we're talking about with that one ordeal. And they were like, no, we want every single text message you've ever had with AJ. And Rogan was like, that's crazy. I don't want to do that. Now, Rogan was able to say, I don't agree to that type of thing. Like I was kind of willing to help you guys because there's no wrongdoing here, but I'm not giving you every single text message. Because next thing you know, Rogan reveals that he's a part of the agency or something like that. I'm kidding. But he didn't want to do that. Maybe they don't want to do that either, because if they now have to reveal every single text message they've had about Candace Owens, and deeper, every single text message that she's had on that phone, period, maybe it'll expose something much bigger. Now I can show you, I can't even fit on the screen here. Make the screen smaller here. Oh, and then the writing's so small. I'm getting to the point where I need those glasses. You know, those glasses that old people need to read things. I'm getting to that point. Project Veritas, I write on behalf of Mary Daly in response to your below request for comment. So they have requested comment. Miss Daly never sent any such text messages. Any suggestion to the contrary is patently false. You have provided no indication of the source of such text messages or any reason to believe that they are not fabricated, which they are. Now, this is a very interesting thing that they're saying here, because they're saying she didn't send any messages. And also, you're not showing any indication of the source of such text messages. So which is it? Because if they're not real, then there would be no source. But they're saying, well, if you show some kind of source, then maybe we'll have a talk about this of some kind. I don't know. It's very, very interesting stuff. Now, again, I've already told you my bias when it comes to Project Veritas, but a lot of what they've covered, even after James left, pretty much everything, I've never seen them cover something or do a sting on somebody or record somebody where the person they recorded was an actor or things just straight up weren't true. I've never seen that from Project Veritas. I've never seen that from James. This is what they do. They find the secret stuff that nobody was supposed to see and they bring it to the public. Again, I'm biased, but I'm not blind. I still see that although James is gone, they do some good work here and there. And honestly, it seems like there is a little bit of fear of discovery going on right now. I don't think they want to open that Pandora's box, because I think what we'll end up seeing will be absolutely wild. So just wanted to bring you guys that. I completely forgot I had to include that. And now I'm out of here.